Shalom to my brothers and sisters in the body of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach, and shalom, shalom to the scattered Hebrew Israelites who are throughout the four corners of the earth. Today, I bring you a word for edification because there has been a great misunderstanding pertaining to why we keep a memorial of the holy feast days, and also why we keep the holy days. And this confusion is coming about because many are not coming in the whole volume of the book. Either they are too much in the Old Testament and they don't read the Apocrypha in the New Testament, or they are too much in the New Testament and they don't read the Old Testament and the Apocrypha. Now, those who have been born again would definitely understand what I'm saying here, because for some reason, for example, some think that we have to go to the Levites to keep these holy feast days. Okay. Some think that we have to go back to the land of Jerusalem to keep these holy feast days. Let me see what's another popular one that has been coming about. Some think that we don't have to keep these holy feast days because the Most High had put away the law. He had put away everything. Okay. So these are some of the great misunderstanding among our brothers and sisters, because when you don't understand the new covenant or what the Messiah has established for us, and when you don't study the new covenant with the Old Testament and the Apocrypha, you're not going to be aware of what was changed and what did not change. Okay. And also you're not understanding what would come in the new eternal covenant, because many of you are not aware that we're going back to Torah. We're going to keep these holy feast days and these holy days as commanded in Torah in the new eternal kingdom, in the new heaven and the new earth. Many is not aware of this. So the title of this word today is Israelites, the holy days and feasts, judgment against the Levites. I repeat, the holy days and feasts, judgment against the Levites. Anybody say, is there a judgment set against the Levites? Yes, my brothers and sisters. And this judgment shall carry over into the new eternal kingdom. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But the first thing I need to do, I need to make you aware of Yahuwah prophetic message. Our Holy Father has spoken last year, my brothers and sisters, through his messenger. And let me see, can I pull up that message? And this is a must, that all of you must listen to that message, and please share that message with your brothers and sisters, because, let's see, can I find it? Because our Father is letting us know what season we are in, for we know this is the time for the Messiah to come back. Okay, this is the season for him to return, and this is also the time for a nation to be born. I highly recommend that you take time to listen to the Most High message. And before you comment, think first, because you shall be judged. Even before you type something in the comment section, think first, because you're going to be judged for what you say and what you think, and even for what you type. Okay? But those who have been keeping a record of the Most High calendar and have been observing the heavens and the signs in the earth as instructed by the Messiah, because the Messiah told us to what? Watch and pray. We have noticed that the heavens and the earth are manifesting themselves to us. And the Most High had gave us a very important clue in his message. For he said through his messenger, and I quote, he said, "For in your restoration is the fullness of the earth, the realignment of the cosmos and the universe. It is life from death. It is life from the dead." Okay. So those who have been paying attention to the heavens and the sign of the earth are aware that the earth is no longer in line with the heavens. See, those who've been keeping a record of Yahuwah calendar, and Yahuwah's calendar consists of the sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth. And Mazzaroth is a Hebrew word for the 12 signs. So Those who have been keeping a record will understand what this message is saying because we can see evidence of that. Okay? So we know soon a nation shall be born. Again, take the time to watch that video. And this video link shall be in the description box. The first message is for Hebrew Israelites only. Okay? And the second message, the second video is for Israelites and Gentiles. Okay? Now we're going to take a look at some scriptures first because I want to confirm to you that Yahuwah does not change. And in the new eternal kingdom, we're going back to Torah. We're going back to keeping these holy days and holy feast days. So the scriptures we're about to review will give you the evidence and proof. So therefore, my brothers and sisters, you should not condemn no one for keeping a memorial of the holy feast days. So let us begin. We first going to go to, let me see, can I find it? I need to go to the book of Isaiah. Let me go there. Let me pull it up with this one. We can go to the book of Isaiah. And it's the last chapter in the book. Okay? And we shall read verse 19 to 24. Isaiah chapter 66, verse 19. And I would set a sign among them, and I would send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pool, and Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal and Javan, to the islands afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. Okay, so he's going to send a great sign. Yahuwah's going to send a great sign. Now, I highly recommend that you also read Isaiah chapter 11 and 2nd Ezra chapter 13. Okay, but let us continue to read verse 20. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Yahuwah out of all nations, upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain, Jerusalem, saith Yahuwah. As the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel in the house of Yahuwah. So as we see this verse, at the most high appointed time, the Gentiles shall bring the children of Israel back home. Okay. Also read Isaiah chapter 14. Verse 21. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, saith the Most High. Now, this verse you want to highlight because when we read the judgment that's set against the Levites, we're going to see how Yahuwah take of the children of Israel for priests and for Levites. Okay. So that verse you want to highlight, and this to keep in the back of your mind. But let us continue to read. Verse 22. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith Yahuwah, so shall your seed and your name remain. So this is proof again, my brothers and sisters, that the nation of Israel has not been put away. They still exist. Now notice here in this verse, it said new heavens with an S and new earth. According to the word, the Most High is going to create a new heaven and a new earth. This is very important to remember because you need to understand about the two realms here. Okay, heaven and earth. All right, but let us continue to read. Verse 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahuwah. Now, this verse you want to highlight because now we have the proof and the confirmation that in the new eternal kingdom, that his holy days has not went away. He said, well, all flesh shall come and worship him from one new moon to another new moon, my brothers and sisters, and from one Sabbath to another Sabbath. So you see, Yahuwah don't change. Verse 24, and they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that has transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched. They shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. So as you can see, for those who say that hell don't exist, that in that day the righteous shall come and look upon the carcasses of the men who came against Yahuwah. Okay. And you will see in those carcasses that their worm will not die and the fire shall not be quenched. That means that fire is never going to be put out. Okay. Now, another area we can go to confirm to you that these holy days and holy feasts have not been put away is in the book of Zechariah. So let us go there now. And before I go there, let me get back to the other chapter because I'm going to need that chapter. Here we go. Okay. Now we're going to go to the book of Zechariah. And we're going to read Zechariah chapter 14, verse 16 through 21. Okay. Zechariah chapter 14, verse 16. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Master of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So right here, it's letting you know that in the new eternal kingdom, those who are left from Yahuwah's judgment, okay, shall come year to year to worship the King, the Master of hosts, and they would keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Let us continue to read. Verse 17, and it shall be that whoso will not come up from of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Master of hosts, even unto them shall be no rain. So those who do not come to Jerusalem to worship, guess what? They're not going to receive no rain. Verse 18, and if the family of Israel go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith Yahuwah will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the feasts of tabernacles. So as you can see in the new kingdom, the heathen, who are Gentiles, they would too come and worship. And if they do not come and worship, Yahuwah would give them no rain, and there would be a plague upon them. As you can see, Yahuwah don't play. Verse 19, this shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the feasts of tabernacles. So again, this verse is proving to you, we're going to keep these holy days, the nation of Israel and the Gentile nations. Okay. Verse 20, in that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto Yahuwah, and the pots of Yahuwah's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Now, to understand what this verse is saying about the pots in Yahuwah's house shall be like the bowls before the altar, it's talking about they're going to be holy and sanctified. They're going to be clean. Okay. Verse 21, yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judea shall be holiness unto Yahuwah of hosts, and all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them, and seeth therein, and in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of Yahuwah of hosts. Now, to understand what that means about there should be no more the Canaanite in the house of Yahuwah of hosts, there's a precept to that. And you would have to, let me take you there now. That'd be the best thing to do. And to give you more understanding of what that truly means. Because when you understand the difference between clean and unclean, holy and unholy, and what is profane, then you will understand what Yahuwah mean by the Canaanites no longer. sorry, let me say this correctly. Do you understand what Yahuwah mean that there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of Yahuwah of hosts? Because when you understand the history of the Canaanites and whom they truly worship and serve, do you understand what this verse is saying? But the precept for verse 21 is Isaiah chapter 35, verse 8, Joel chapter 3, verse 17, Revelation chapter 21, verse 27, and Revelation chapter 22, verse 15. Because it's talking more, it's this particular verse pertaining to the Canaanite. It's not talking about nationality. It's talking about what the Canaanites do, for those who understand the mystery behind this verse. And when you read the precepts, you will understand that. Okay? So there's one more verse I want to take you to for evidence and proof to you that Yahuwah does not change. And we will continue these holy days as commanded. Can be found in Ezekiel chapter 40, verse 39. Now, we're not going to read the whole chapter. I'm just going to want to read that verse because that verse is also giving you confirmation what will be done in the new eternal kingdom. Nothing has changed, my people. So Ezekiel probably chapter 40, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong chapter. So in Ezekiel chapter 40, verse 39, it says, I'm sorry, I done went past it. It says, and in the porch of the gate were 2 tables on this side, and 2 tables on that side, to slay thereon the burnt offering and the sin offering and the trespass offering. So as you can see, we will be doing different types of offerings in the new kingdom. For those who are familiar with Torah, you are aware about the burnt offering, the sin offering, and the trespass offering. So my brothers and sisters who do not have the understanding about Yahuwah not changing and that his law has not been put away with, I don't want you to panic, because when you understand the new covenant and what the new covenant covers and how the Messiah play a big part in that new covenant, then you will understand how to keep the holy days and the holy feast days through the Messiah. Okay? So I don't want you to panic, but I'm bringing this to your attention to let you know that the law is not done away with. And this is a simple way to think about this. If the law is done away with, then does sin exist? Think about it. If you say we have no more law, then therefore we have no more sin. Because how can someone know if they have sinned against Yahuwah? How can someone know what is clean unto Yahuwah? How can someone know what is unclean to Yahuwah? How can someone know what is holy and unholy to Yahuwah? And how can you know what is profane unto Yahuwah? So you need to take the time to go back and study the Old Testament and the Apocrypha along with the New Testament. And then you will understand what was changed and what was not changed. Okay? So that's very important for you to do. Now, the mystery on how we keep the holy days and the holy feast days, because we are in the land of our captivities, Hebrew Israelites. Okay? And this also includes you, Gentiles, because those who enter into the covenant with us, you too shall experience the affliction and oppression from Satan and his children. Okay? Here's the mystery. Yahuwah is aware you do not have a temple in the earthly realm. Yahuwah is also aware that you don't have a high priest in the earthly realm. Okay, he is aware of these things. Yahuwah is also aware, Hebrew Israelites, that you are in the land of your captivity. So therefore, if not all of us can return back to Jerusalem to worship him. And besides, there's no temple there. So how can you worship him? Okay. So he's aware of all these things. So therefore, he created a better covenant that you can keep. Because you have to remember you are flesh. And because you are flesh, you cannot keep the old covenant perfectly. For you would find, when you study the Torah, you would find that there is no way possible you can keep all these laws in the land of our captivities. You're going to break one of them, probably more than one, okay, in the land of our captivity. So Yahuwah is aware of all these things. That's why he created a better covenant for you to follow. And through his son, he established this new covenant. Okay. So this is why I don't want you to panic, but I do want to make you aware nothing has changed with our Father. And we shall keep these holy days. Okay. So what he requires of us now, brothers and sisters, and I'm going to use this for example. Before we came into the whole truth, okay, when we was in the world, even for those who think they was serving the Most High Yah, okay, we was giving 100% to the heathens' holidays, okay, such as Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, New Year, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day, and so forth. Okay, so we was celebrating the heathens' holidays, and these holidays are of Satan, my brothers and sisters. Okay, so the way we was taking the effort of taking time off and worshiping, worshiping along with our brothers and sisters and reading the word and so forth, the same thing you was put into that, Yahuwah wants you to give that to him now and come in delight. Okay, you should be happy to have his holy days now and no longer follow the heathen pagan holidays. Okay, so he wants you to keep a memorial, and this is why. If we don't keep a memorial of these holy days, will we remember what Yahuwah has done for us? Will we remember what the Messiah has done for us? No. And how will our children remember of what they did for us? This is why we keep a memorial. Number one, to remember. Number two, these holy days and holy feast days is to teach us about what is yet to come. It also taught us about the Messiah, because everything is centered around the Messiah, okay? So it taught us why the Messiah had to come, and it gave us understanding of heavenly spiritual things, okay? And again, I cannot stress this. You have to be born again to understand the messages, the heavenly messages that was given in these holy days and holy feast days. And also to understand what the Messiah was telling you in the gospel. Okay. So now let us get back on track. Now that I have given you scriptures to prove that nothing has changed, now let us get an understanding about the Levites. Okay. Because some of you are under the impression that you have to find a Levite and go to the Levite in order to keep your holy days or holy feast days. And I'm here to tell you that it's not true. For we have a new covenant now, my brothers and sisters, and there were some changes made, okay? But first, let us get the understanding about the Levites, okay? This is why it's so important to understand the Old Testament, okay? When you study the Old Testament, you will begin to learn there was a total of 13 tribes among the children of Israel. But of the 13 tribes, one of them was set apart to Yahuwah, which explains why we have 12 tribes in the Old Testament. Okay, so I want you to take this time now to pause your screen to look at the each tribe that's listed here. All right. So those who have studied the Old Testament understand why there's 12 tribes and not 13 tribes, because when you look at Levi, Levi was set apart unto Yahuwah. So he was not counted in the tribes of the children of Israel because Yahuwah was their inheritance, and they did not receive land. Okay? That is the biggest difference between the tribe of Levi and the rest of the tribes of the children of Israel. Now that's in the Old Testament. Now for the New Testament, I know when y'all get to the book of Revelation, you will see one tribe not mentioned. Okay. Now here's the understanding when you're dealing with the mysteries pertaining to the inheritance of the kingdom of heaven and the inheritance in the earthly realm. Okay. There are three groups. Okay. The bride of Yahushua and the 144,000 inheritance are totally different from the nation of Israel inheritance. Okay. The first two groups I just mentioned, inheritance, are based more in the heavenly. Okay. And the last group, which is the nation of Israel inheritance, is based more in the earthly realm. You have to understand the difference between those groups. It's a big difference. Okay. So when you read Revelation chapter 7, you will not see the tribe of Dan mentioned. Okay. Now I want to let you know Dan has not been cut off. Okay. They will be with the children of Israel, but it's in the earthly realm. All right. Now, what I'm about to say to you pertains to the nation of Dan. This is not pertaining to individual. And to understand what I'm saying here, anyone who receives salvation as written in Romans chapter 10 and are baptized in the name of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach becomes a part of the bride of the Messiah. That is the group that they were joined to. Okay. But when you look at the 144,000, it's only Hebrew Israelites. It's only the children of Israel. Okay. And to understand why Dan is not a part of that particular group, you have to read the prophecy that was written in the book of Genesis and the book of Deuteronomy. But that's part of the answer. To get the complete answer, you're going to have to read the prophecy that their father Dan gave to them, my brothers and sisters. So what I have done for you, there is a video for you to watch, and there's a link for you to click on to read the book of Dan. And in his message, he gives you the reason why Dan is not included in the 144,000. Okay? However, remember, Dan would not be cut off from the nation of Israel in the earthly realm. They too have an inheritance in the earthly realm. So you have to read Ezekiel chapter 47 and Ezekiel chapter 48 to understand that. Okay. But also I want to mention the book of Dan also give you prophecies about the last days. I highly recommend for all Hebrew Israelites to read that book. Again, the links to the video and to the book of Dan will be in the video description box for you to watch. Okay. So now that we receive that understanding, let us bring our attention back on Levi. Now that we have some understanding why we have 12 tribes and why Levi was set apart in the Old Testament, now let us get a further understanding about the children of Levi, okay? Now this is very important because when you do a word search with priests and the Levites, the reason why you see those two words written separately, because when you study the role and position of the sons of Aaron and himself and their descendants and compare it to the Levites, it is totally different. Okay. So as you see here, I have listed, and keep in mind, when you look at the children of Levi, see them as like two groups. It's very important. Okay. Aaron and his descendants will hold the high priest office and the priest office. And I've written that out separately for I want you to understand this. Okay. Only one of the descendants of Aaron's can be a high priest, but the rest of them will perform other priestly duties in the temple of Yahuwah. And a great example of this can be found in Luke chapter 1. But when you do a further study, you will learn that each of Aaron's descendants had a order of course to follow of what tasks they are responsible for in the temple of Yahuwah. And to get more information about this order of course they follow, you have to read 1 Corinthians chapter 24. But when you look at Luke chapter 1, you will learn that the lighting of the menorah in the temple of Yahuwah was Zechariah's lot or assignment. And only Aaron and his descendants can light the menorah. Now, there are other tasks in the temple of Yahuwah that only Aaron and his descendants can do. Okay? And as for the high priest, he is the only one that can go into the Holy of Holies or before the Holy of Holies to present himself to Yahuwah. He's the only one. Again, you're going to have to study the Old Testament to understand the difference between Aaron and his descendants from the Levites. And I want to stress this. It's a difference between their roles, my brothers and sisters. Okay? Which brings us now to the Levites. Now, the Levites was given to, I'm sorry, let me say this again. The Levites was given as a gift to Aaron and his sons to assist them with the ministry to the children of Israel and to Yahuwah. And a great chapter to read about that, it can be found in Numbers chapter 8. We will go there now. But again, I recommend that you read the Old Testament, especially Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, to understand the difference, task assignments that was given to Aaron and his descendants in comparison to the Levites. And remember, only Aaron and his descendants can be a high priest and can perform the priest's office duties. That's very important for you to know. So now we're going to go to Numbers chapter 8. Okay. Now in Numbers chapter 8, I'm not going to read the whole chapter. We're going to only read certain verses. Okay. But in your spare time, I highly recommend that you go back and read Numbers chapter 8. Numbers chapter 8, verse 17. For all the firstborn of the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I smote every firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified them for myself. So, Yahuwah is telling the nation of Israel that all firstborn children of Israel belongs to him. Now, the firstborn of children of Israel include male and female. For when you look at this word man back into Hebrew, it's going to tie back into the word Adam. And Adam is the name of our species. And in the species of Adam, you have male and female, which is confirmed in Genesis chapter 5. Okay. Also, when you read the book of Jasper, you will learn that when Yahuwah smote the firstborn of the Egyptians and their beasts, okay, not only did he kill the male, he also killed the female who was firstborn. It's there. Okay. This is something very important for you to know. So I'm going to read this verse again, and we're going to see how it ties into verse 18. For all the firstborn of the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I smote every firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified them for myself. And I have taken the Levites for all the firstborn of the children of Israel. So for all the firstborn, male and female of Israel, he has taken the Levites to take their place. Okay? I'm telling you, when you study Torah, you begin to learn a lot of things and you begin to understand why the Most High requires certain offerings, because it'll give you better enlightenment on, well, what's the best word I can say? To really understand him, also to understand the Messiah, because there's some deep spiritual meanings behind these offerings that was required of the children of Israel. It goes very deep. Okay. So as we just learned here, that the Levites has taken the place of all the firstborn of the children of Israel. Okay. So they would now assist Aaron and his descendants to minister unto the children of Israel and also to minister unto Yahuwah. Okay. Verse 19. And I had given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and to his sons from among the children of Israel to do the service of the children of Israel in the tabernacle of the congregation, and to make an atonement for the children of Israel, that there be no plague among the children of Israel when the children of Israel come not into the sanctuary. So FYI, when you see the tabernacle of the congregation, again, it's talking about what? The temple of Yahuwah. For the first temple of Yahuwah was made of tents when you study that. Okay. Now this brings us to, I want to read to you verse 23 to 26. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, This is it that belongeth unto the Levites from 25 years old and upward. They shall go into wait upon the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. So this is what's the charge that that Yahuwah given to the Levites from 25 and upward. They are to what? Fulfill the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. In other words, they are to fulfill the ministry of Yahuwah's temple. Verse 25. And from the age of 50 years, they shall cease waiting upon the service thereof and shall serve no more. So from the age of 25 to 50, that's how long their service shall be unto Yahuwah. And after that, they shall serve no more. Verse 26, but shall minister with their brethren in the tabernacle of the congregation to keep the charge, and shall do no service. Thus shall do unto the Levites touching their charge. So once they reach 50, they would do no more service, okay? But however, they would minister with their brethren in the tabernacle of the congregation, okay? To keep charge and to do no service, all right? So now that we got some understanding about what the Levites' position were to the children of Israel and to Yahuwah, now we're going to transition now into the new covenant, okay? Because see, in the old covenant, what? The children of Israel had to go before the Levites, right? Well, I'm sorry, the children of Israel had to go before Aaron and his sons and their descendants and the Levites, all right? Now we're going to see the change that had come about. So we need to go to Hebrews chapter 8. Hebrews chapter 8. I'm going to read the chapter summary to you first. By the eternal priesthood of the Messiah, the Levitical priesthood of Aaron is abolished, and the temporal covenant with the fathers by the eternal covenant of the gospel. Okay? So as we can see here, based on the summary, that the Levitical priesthood of Aaron is abolished. That means put away. Okay? So we now have a new priesthood, okay, within this new covenant, which is the priesthood of the Messiah. All right? So we're going to read verse 1 through 6. Now the things which have spoken, this is the sum. We have such an high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens. So in this verse here, confirming that the Messiah is a high priest, but he's in the heavenly realm. Very important for you to know. Okay? Because now we're going to begin to get an understanding of what the Messiah was prophesying in John chapter 4. For he told us that we shall worship Yahuwah in spirit and in truth. But let us keep going. Verse 2, a minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle, which Yahuwah pitched and not man. Now this verse is very deep. You want to highlight this verse. For the Messiah is the minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle, which was not pitched by man. Now that's a deep spiritual mystery here, because if you remember in the gospel that the Messiah said that he will what? Rebuild Yahuwah's temple in 3 days. Now the temple that he was talking about was people, your body. Okay. For now the spirit of Yahuwah dwell in us. And the only way that the Spirit of Yahuwah can dwell in us, my brothers and sisters, again, you have to receive salvation and baptism in the name of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach. Then you can receive the fullness of Yahuwah. For the Messiah's Spirit to dwell in you, and the Messiah's Spirit shall bring the fullness of Yahuwah to dwell in you, for those that understand that mystery. Okay. So the Messiah here in verse 2 is the minister of the sanctuary. Okay. So he's the minister of the temple of Yahuwah, which is the bride, and the 144,000. And he is of the true tabernacle. Okay. So the tabernacle that we have now is no longer physical, my brothers and sisters. We are more spiritual now. Okay, verse 3. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices, wherefore it is of necessity. Wherefore it is of necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer. Okay, so just as the priest under the Aaron Levitical priesthood offers sacrifices here in the earthly realm, so shall this priest who is Yahuwshua HaMashiyach, he has to offer something too, right? Which he did. Okay, and y'all know what he offered us, the greatest gift. He offered himself as a living sacrifice. And because of what he did, it redeemed us back to Yahuwah. Okay, let us continue to read. For if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer gifts according to the law. So now we have an understanding why he's in the heavenly realm, okay? Because if he's in the earthly realm, he would not be a priest. Because, see, we ought to have priests offering gifts according to the old covenant. Remember, we are in the new covenant. So now we get more understanding about this new covenant and why he is the high priest, okay, in the heavenly realm. Verse 5, who serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things, as Moses was admonished of Yahuwah when he was about to make the tabernacle. For see, saith he, that thou make all things according to the pattern showed to thee in the mount. Okay, so here the Messiah served as an example unto us and gave us and gave us a shadow of heavenly things. So he gave us an idea about these heavenly things that are yet to come. Okay. And this is why when you study about the holy days and holy feast days, you begin to understand the heavenly messages. It goes deep, my brothers and sisters. You begin to understand why the Messiah had to come. You begin to understand the deep spiritual mysteries. And also these holy days and holy feast days will show you the reason why the Messiah came and the prophecy he fulfilled and how he fulfilled it. Also, it will show you what he's yet to come back to do. Okay. Verse 6. But now have he attained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. For those who study Torah, we know this. The new covenant we are in that are established by the Messiah is so much better than the old covenant, because remember, under the old covenant, if you break a law, guess what? You was probably usually damned. Either you was cut off from the nation of Israel or you were put to death. There was no mercy. Okay. But now we are establishing a better covenant and we have mercy and grace now, my brothers and sisters, because Yahuwah know we are in the flesh. And because we are in the flesh, we cannot keep the law perfectly. So this is why he established a new covenant, so that way his son can dwell in us, his spirit. So his spirit can dwell in us. And because his spirit dwells in us, he teaches us how to keep the laws of Yahuwah. He teaches us how to keep the holy days and the holy feast days. He teaches us the mysteries of heaven. For those heart that is not hardened, for those who draw nigh unto Yahuwah, he give you more, my brothers and sisters, all according to your heart. Okay, so reading this verse here, I'm very excited about this verse, because here it said what? The Messiah is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. So therefore, this is why, oh Hebrew Israelites, you will be, what's the best word to use here? Your chances to receive your inheritance are better than being in that old covenant. Do you see this, Hebrew Israelites? Your chances to receive your inheritance are better in the new covenant than in the old covenant. For in the old covenant, there was no grace and mercy. For when you sin or when you transgress against Yahuwah, either you was cut off or you was put to death, okay, for some of those laws. Not for all, but for some of them. Something to really think about, okay? So again, my brothers and sisters, take the time to study the New Testament with the Old Testament and see what was changed and also see what was not changed. And then you will understand what the Messiah covers you. For now, we are worshiping Yahuwah in spirit and truth. Instead of bringing sacrifices and offerings, I'm sorry, instead of bringing up carnal sacrifices and offerings, okay, we now bring Yahuwah's sacrifice and offerings in the spirit. For our body become what? A living sacrifice. For we become set apart from the world. We live holy and clean and acceptable unto Yahuwah according to his laws, under the teaching and guidance under the Messiah spirit of whom dwell in us. A mystery that many do not understand. Okay, so let us get back on track here. Now that we have an understanding that Aaron, the Levitical priesthood, is put away with and replaced with the priesthood of the Messiah, now we begin to understand that we don't need Levites to keep Yahuwah holy days and holy feast days. We now keep it through the Messiah. For now we are worshiping Yahuwah in spirit and in truth, as written and prophesied in John chapter 4. Also, when you get a chance, read Ezekiel chapter 11. For Yahuwah told us that he would be a little sanctuary unto us in the lands of our captivities. A great mystery that many do not understand. So, I also want to show you this before we go to the judgment of the Levites, because we have a witness in the earth to show to you that the temple of Yahuwah has been demolished. It has been destroyed. I'm talking about the physical temple. And you can find it in Torah, Israel. This link will be in the video description box so you can read and do a further study. But I'm going to click on the picture so you can see. Also, look for the letter I in the video in the right upper hand corner. Take your cursor and put it in the right hand corner, and you will see the I and click on that. And you will see the video that pertains to the two Jerusalem. For the Jerusalem that the Messiah prophesies in Matthew 23 to chapter 24 of it being destroyed and also being a wilderness. That Jerusalem that he was talking about was the Jebusite Jerusalem. The Jebusite Jerusalem is the city of David. It is Jerusalem, and it is the place where Zion is located, Mount Zion. So when you see here in this picture right here, this hill here, right here where you see this cursor going around in a circle, this is Mount Zion. And below this hill is the city of Jerusalem. And I want to say it's somewhere over here, but I want to make sure I give you the correct location. But somewhere near the city of Jerusalem is Mount Moriah. And Mount Moriah is the mount that King Solomon built the temple of Yahuwah. And as you can see, there is no stone left that has not been turned. This place is desolate. It's a wilderness, and it fulfilled the prophecy as written in the book of Isaiah, Ezekiel, Joel, Matthew chapter 23 to Matthew chapter 24. So this is the true Jerusalem. This is the true Jebusite Jerusalem. The Jerusalem today that you see, that the sons of Esau and the sons of Japheth are in, who they call themselves the Jewish people. They are in the Amorite Jerusalem. Again, you're going to have to go back to the Old Testament to understand the difference between these two Jerusalem. Or you can watch the video. Okay? Now let us go to the judgment that is set against the Levites. Okay? Many are not aware of the judgments that are set against the Levites. Okay? I want you to turn to Ezekiel chapter 44, and we're going to read the summary first. It said, the east gate assigned only to the prince, the priest reproved for polluting the sanctuary, idolaters, incapable of the priest's office. The sons of Zadok are accepted there too. Ordinances for the priests. So we can read verse 4 through 16. Okay. Then brought he me the way of the north gate before the house. And I looked, and behold, the glory of Yahuwah filled the house of Yahuwah, and I fell upon my face. So this is pertaining to the temple that Yahuwah has prepared for us, waiting to come down at its appointed time. And notice that it said here that the glory of Yahuwah shall fill the house of Yahuwah, the temple of Yahuwah, the tabernacle of Yahuwah. Okay. So to understand what that glory is, again, you have to go back and read the Old Testament. It's in the book of Exodus. It's also in the book of Chronicles and the book of Kings. That's very important for you to know what is the glory of Yahuwah that fill his house. Okay. Verse 5. And Yahuwah said unto me, Son of man, mark well, and behold with thy eyes, and hear with thy ears, all that I say unto thee concerning all the ordinances of the house of Yahuwah, and all the laws thereof. And mark well the entering in of the house, with every going forth of the sanctuary. Verse 6. And thou shalt say to the rebellious, even to the house of Israel, thus saith Yahuwah El, O ye house of Israel, let it suffice you of all your abominations. So now we're about to find out what their abominations that they committed against Yahuwah, my people. Verse 7. In that ye have brought into my sanctuary strangers, uncircumcised in heart and uncircumcised in flesh, to be in my sanctuary to pollute it, even my house, when ye offer my bread, the fat and the blood, and they have broken my covenant because of all your abominations. Now, to understand what Yahuwah is talking about here, you got to read the Old Testament, and you got to read the book of you have to read the Apocrypha, especially the book of Maccabees. Okay. And the strangers in this verse is pertaining to the Gentile. They are not Israelites, okay? So during that time, they committed this great abomination against Yahuwah. They brought strangers into his physical tabernacle, into his physical temple, and these strangers was uncircumcised in the heart, and they were uncircumcised in the flesh. Now, to understand about the strangers, that was a big no-no with Yahuwah, because under the old covenant, especially when you read Exodus chapter 12 and Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 10 through 15, you will learn that in order for a stranger, a non-Israelite, to enter into the covenant with Yahuwah, they have to what? Perform the circumcision of the flesh. That's under the old covenant. And this is why many Gentiles could not receive salvation, because that was the old covenant law. All right. Because the Gentiles during that period of time did not worship Yahuwah. They worshiped Satan and his angels. And they looked down upon the circumcision of the flesh. Therefore, you didn't have a lot of Gentiles coming and worship Yahuwah. All right. They was against that. I highly recommend that you take time to read the work of Josephus, and you will see what I mean. But let us continue to read verse 8. Okay. And I want to stress to you, because I know some Hebrew Israelite, read Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 10 through 15, and you will see the strangers who came out with my ancestors from Egypt, who was Gentiles, who was not Israelites. They also enter into the covenant with Yahuwah. For Yahuwah would not have no stranger no servant to dwell among them and not be holy, because they have to be holy too, my brothers and sisters. Go back and read Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 10 through 15, and Exodus chapter 12. But let us continue to read. Verse 8, and ye have not kept the charge of my holy things, but ye have set keepers of my charge in my sanctuary for yourselves. Thus saith Yahuwah, no stranger, uncircumcised in heart, nor uncircumcised in flesh, shall enter into my sanctuary of any stranger that is among the children of Israel. So this verse here, remember, is talking about the new eternal kingdom. Okay? That's what he let you know. I do not want you to get confused with the new covenant, because we're going to talk about that after I make this clear. Okay? In the new kingdom, we're going back to Torah. And he's making it clear. Yahuwah is saying this himself, that no stranger, uncircumcised in the heart, nor uncircumcised in the flesh, will enter into his sanctuary. Now, the sanctuary he's talking about his physical temple that he has prepared for us, my brothers and sisters. Okay? Now, remember, the new covenant we are operating spiritually. So when you read the book of Acts and the book of Colossians, you will learn that they did not require the Gentiles to be circumcised in the flesh. Okay? Because it's under the new covenant that the Messiah established for us. This is a great mystery that many do not understand. Okay? Because none of us can keep the law perfectly in the flesh. And one of the great hindrances for the Gentiles to come into the covenant or to come and worship Yahuwah, because they didn't believe in circumcision of the flesh. That was one of the great hindrances for the Gentiles. So when the Messiah established the new covenant that we are in, they are covered through him. So their circumcision become the circumcision of the heart that the spirit of the Messiah does unto them, and as well unto Israelites, male, female, bond, free, circumcised, uncircumcised, Scythians and barbarians, etc. Okay, that's a great spiritual mystery that many do not understand. So I'm going to use this for an example so you can have more insight. We all know that none of us had kept the law from the days of our youth. So we already know that because we didn't keep the law from the day of our youth, we are already what? Condemned. Okay? But when we enter into the new covenant through the Messiah and keep the law according to his instruction, we are covered. That's one example. The second example is, let's say you minister unto a brother and he believed the word. So he received salvation and baptism as written in Romans chapter 10 and Mark chapter 16. And he tells you, well, I'm not circumcised. Okay? My first question to you, will the Most High condemn him because he's not circumcised when he has entered into the new covenant? Something to think about, my brothers and sisters. Let's take this further. Let's say for him, he decided, well, I do want to be circumcised. Okay, because I want to follow the example that was set in the Old Testament. Okay, that is his decision. Okay, let's say that he does want to be circumcised, so he makes an appointment. But unfortunately, he died by a car accident before the day he can be circumcised. Do you think the Most High will hold that against him from not entering into the kingdom of heaven? No. Here's the mystery that many do not understand about the new covenant. Where we fell at in the flesh of keeping the law, the Messiah covered us. This is why the burden of the circumcision of the flesh was not placed upon the Gentiles, because they had understanding of the spiritual mystery of the new covenant and how the Messiah covered us. Again, read the book of Acts. And I think it's in Acts chapter 15. Let me make sure, because I want to give it to you, because I know my brothers and sisters who are Hebrew Israelites will frown upon this. But that is one of the things that the new covenant covers. It covers them. Those who are are of the uncircumcision of the flesh. They are covered in the new covenant. So it can be found in Acts chapter 15. And I want you to read Philippians chapter 3, Colossians chapter 2. Okay. Read that definitely as well. Also read, it was something else I found. Let me see if it's in that Philippians. Yeah, definitely read Philippians chapter 3, because you would see that the body of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach, which is the bride, covers Israelites and Gentiles, males and females, bond and free, circumcised and uncircumcised, Scythian and barbarian, etc. Okay? So if you're in the body of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach, which is called the bride, which is also known as the temple Yahuwah, you are covered. Okay? But in the new eternal kingdom, I want to make this clear. In the new eternal kingdom, you shall be circumcised in the heart and in the flesh. That will come forth in the new kingdom. Now you begin to see that, hey, Yahuwah does not change, and that Torah is not put away with. We're going back to it in the new eternal kingdom. Okay, so now let's continue to read. Verse 10. And the Levites that are gone away far from me, when Israel went astray, which went astray away from me after their idols, they shall even bear their iniquity. So guess what? The Levites led the nation of Israel away from the Most High. The Levites led the children of Israel into idolatry. So therefore they shall bear their iniquity in the new eternal kingdom. So let us continue to read. Verse 11. Yet they shall be ministers in my sanctuary, having charge at the gates of the house, and ministering to the house. They shall slay the burnt offering and the sacrifice for the people, and they shall stand before them to minister unto them, because they minister unto them before their idols, and cause the house of Israel to fall into iniquity. Therefore I have lifted up my hand against them, saith Yahuwah, and they shall bear their iniquity. So Yahuwah don't play, as you can see. This judgment is going to carry over into the new eternal kingdom, children of Levi. Do you see now? You have a judgment set against you. Now you begin to see the importance of the new covenant. Okay? Verse 13. And also I do want to point out, when you read verse 11, you will see what their assigned task would be in the new eternal kingdom. For they will have charge of the gates of the house of Yahuwah, which is the temple, and they would be ministering to the house, and that such as doing like slaying the burnt offerings and doing the sacrifice for the people, and they should stand before the people and minister unto the people. Okay? And excuse my phone. So now we're going to read verse 13. And they shall not come near unto me to do the office of a priest unto me, nor come near to any of my holy things in the most holy place. But they shall bear their shame and their abominations which they have committed. So now we see the children of Levi shall not be a priest unto Yahuwah. In other words, they shall not hold that office of priest unto Yahuwah, nor will they come near his holy things or in his holy place, because they have to bear their shame and their abomination that they had commit against him. Okay. Verse 14. But I will make them keepers of the charge of the house for all the service thereof, and for all that shall be done therein. Verse 15. But the priests, the Levites, the sons of Zadok, that keep the charge of my sanctuary, when the children of Israel went astray from me, they shall come near to me to minister unto me, and they shall stand before me to offer unto me the fat and the blood, saith Yahuwah. So now we see the specification of who out of the children of Levi shall be a minister unto Yahuwah, who shall offer the sacrifices to Yahuwah directly. And those descendants of Levi are the sons of Zadok. Now, when you do a further research about the sons of Zadok, you will learn that Zadok is a descendant of Aaron. Okay, so he comes from the direct line of those who was supposed to keep the high priest and the priest office role. Okay, when you do a further research, and again, when you read this verse, you see here we're still going back to offering what? Offerings and sacrifices unto Yahuwah. Nothing has changed, my brothers and sisters. So therefore, the law has not been put away with, but we have a better way of keeping the law now in the new covenant that the Messiah has established for us. So let me read this last verse to you. Verse 16, they shall enter into my sanctuary, and they shall come near to my table to minister unto me, and they shall keep my charge. So as you can see here, this will not take place until the temple of Yahuwah come down to the new earth at its appointed time. Remember, we're going to have a new heaven, new earth. Okay, so when the temple of Yahuwah come down, then the sons of Zadok shall keep the charge of Yahuwah's sanctuary. Okay, and they shall minister unto Yahuwah and stand before him to offer the sacrifices unto him. Okay, because they was the one who did not lead the children of Israel astray from him. So now that we have seen the judgment that are set against the Levites, now we begin to get a better understanding that we don't have to go to the Levites anymore, my brothers and sisters. In the new covenant, the Messiah has established a better priesthood for us, for he is our high priest. And our high priest is in the heavenly realms, being a mediator between Yahuwah and us. And he is offering the offerings and sacrifices for us on our behalf in the heavenly realm. Okay? For those that have more understanding on that part. So therefore, because we are in the earthly realm and we do not have these things in the earthly realm, we now worship the Father in spirit and truth. And we now live a set apart life, which is a holy life, and offering our body as a living sacrifice by keeping the laws through the Messiah. And the Messiah's spirit shall teach you all things and guide you in all things. And the Messiah shall teach you how to keep the law. The Messiah's spirit shall teach you what has changed and what has not changed. But most importantly, the Messiah's spirit shall teach you how to keep a memorial of the holy feast days, and how to keep the holy days, such as the new moons and the Sabbaths. All right. So this complete our lesson, my brothers and sisters. Okay. I hope you really enjoyed the word. For this was a great feeding for us to give us understanding on how important it is to have. This is a great word to give us understanding on how it is important to accept the new covenant. Because if you try to go by the old covenant, you already condemned. Okay. Again, you don't have these things in the earthly realm to fulfill that old covenant. The only way now is through Yahuwah's Son, which is Yahuwshua HaMashiyach, who is the Messiah and who is the High Priest and King of Kings and Master of Masters. So this concludes the word pertaining to the holy days and feasts, judgment against the Levites. Take this time now, my brothers and sisters, to remember this family, for they have been falsely accused and their children have been taken away from them. Do not let their story die. Keep them in your prayers. Keep their story alive. And their testimony will be listed in the video description box. Also, you can find other videos of them on YouTube and on Facebook as well. Okay. As far as right now, I haven't heard anything about his wife on her sentencing yet. Okay. So I'll close out this word in prayer. I plead the blood of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach upon this video and upon the links that are attached to this video, Father. I pray, Father, that Yahuwah, I'm asking and I'm praying for your children. I'm praying that they truly understand about this new covenant. And I pray that they understand that the law is not put away with, but that you have provided a better way for us to keep the law in the new covenant through your son. I pray that they will understand that if the law is put away with, then sin does not exist. And that would be a lie from the gates of heaven. For when you read First John, well, when you read the first book of John, you would see that sin is transgression against your laws. Okay. So, Father, I pray that they will have understanding of these things. I pray that they will stop coming in one part of your book and come in the wholeness of your book. And I pray that they will seek you in the name of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach when they don't understand something. I pray that they read Luke chapter 11, verse 9 to 13. For your words say that if we ask, it shall be given. If we seek, we shall find. If we knock on the door, it shall be open unto us. So I pray that your people will understand these things. I also pray for brother Alayasha and his family to protect them from all danger, harm, and evil. But I pray that this affliction that they are going through, that it be used to glorify your name. I pray that I pray for their children, because their children are among strangers. So please keep their children safe. And also I pray for the husband and wife, that they will always have access to your word, and that you can use them to minister your word to those that are behind those bars. And Father, I pray for our enemies, that I pray that they will repent and turn from their wicked ways, and that whatever they have planned against us, Father, I pray that it will fall upon their heads, and that they fall in their own pits that they dug for us. And if anything, Father, that I do not pray for in this prayer, that I ask that you fulfill it according to your will. In the name of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach, so be it. All right, my family, continue to preach the gospel that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, for we know this is the season for the Messiah to return. Make sure the people receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10, and baptize them in the name of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach. And keep the hope alive, my family. Do not be discouraged, for we shall be delivered, and we shall come to the day when we shall keep the holy days and holy feast days as commanded in the Torah. That day is coming, my brothers and sisters. So keep the hope alive. I love you all, and Shalom.